fantasy short stories. Translate This by Craig H. Bowlsby. Zebus 45, with enhanced reticulum, was facing imminent mission failure. His lower right movement pod was trapped painfully in the metal teeth of a forest clamp, and his precious mission parameters allowed no time for being captured in any device. But he still refused to send a distress call to the orbiting scout ship, as that would also spell instant career failure, which for Zebuloids was very, very unpleasant. The plan had been simple. Land in a secluded spot on the third planet from the system's sun, pick up selected plant and soil samples, and return immediately to space. Then he would bask in the glory of his first successful exploration to this curious and valuable planet. His data would provide the key to further exploration and justify the enormous expense of 1,000 years of preparation. There was no telling when the next such mission could be mounted. Zebu 45, with enhanced reticulum's speciality, was his speed and skill with his reticulum. Sleek and responsive, his thin, strong reticulum outperformed all others, and he'd trained tirelessly. He could farbulate faster than an artificial farbulator. He could twazool to 1,000 twazzlerites. He was enormously proud of his top-level simulated mission results and his extreme efficiency, a high-value trait on Zebulon. But here, on this alien planet, his efficiency had somehow faltered. He hadn't found the required plants immediately in this dark forest, and he hadn't expected a metal trap to attack him, only a few tentacle lengths from his landed disc flyer. His tools couldn't dislodge the trap, and he couldn't yank it out, even though he'd thrashed so hard he'd bruised his interior gullet. If he somehow escaped, he'd still be interrogated mercilessly by his superior, Zebus 43 with enhanced tentacles, and probably demoted to waste product sublimation. His flyer only sat a few tentacles away, but he couldn't even reach that. Yet, time was ovulating, and only 10 microunits remained in the original plan. Fortunately, none of his 3 major body components, his large round head, his large round thorax, and even larger abdomen, had been damaged, and if necessary, he would anesthetize his stumpy, captured pod, burn it right off, and then jump for the disc. But he couldn't do that yet, because the situation had got even worse. Some alien creatures were approaching. He could smell them and hear them, and a light beam came from one of their reticulated appendages, stabbing through the dark brush. He cowered as the aliens closed in, snapping the branches and plants around them, and suddenly they appeared, about 10 small reticula away. There were 2 of them, shadowy, upright figures. They stopped still, leaving the forest silent, except for their strange hissing. Zebus 45, with enhanced reticulum, sucked in his hydrogen hard through his skin. The aliens, at least, weren't wild animals. They appeared semi-sentient. Their shape indicated, roughly, upright quadrupeds. They had 2 lower articulated travel pods, or extensions, and 2 articulated upper extensions. They each had a working round brain center on top, although obscured by the darkness. They each had 2 ocular ports with glassy oculi. They had surprisingly few tentacles, if any, and they carried some manufactured objects. Both had a long, thin metal device, possibly a weapon with a tubular section. The light device carried by the taller alien blinded the Zebuloid's 4 sensory orbs. Aghast, Zebus 45, with enhanced reticulum, swallowed hard down his slurry hole. He thought of puffing up his rough red skin to look bigger, but then he remembered his alien translator, the Trebuslote. Thank the stars! The built-in electronic brainware deep inside his puffy head would save the Zebuloid day. The advanced ones on his planet had spent thousands of solar rotations developing such a device, and they had finally succeeded. Trembling, Zebus 45, with enhanced reticulum, flicked on his audio intake valve and waited eagerly to hear the aliens' communications. The two creatures uttered more hissing and growling. The Trebuslote, in turn, beeped non-committedly. Of course, no definitive exactitude existed with this kind of interface. They hadn't studied the planet long. Indeed, their mission involved getting in and out quickly. Furthermore, bizarrely, this planet's language had over 200 known variations. The communication core held many samples of data, but they tried only experimental constructions. Even context would be difficult. The Trebuslote's task was enormous. Finally, one of the creatures gasped out more sounds, and the Trebuslote beeped earnestly in Zebus 45, with enhanced reticulum's brain. But the situation was dire, and he couldn't wait. Efficiency was key. He willed the Trebuslote into speed mode. It beeped more rapidly, and the translation came out? Question, interrogative, regarding the reproductive capabilities of Zebu 45 with enhanced reticulum. The what? Asked Zebus 45 with enhanced reticulum to himself. The Trebuslote just beeped, waiting. Zebus 45 with enhanced reticulum panicked. He waved his reticulum up and down, cranking its two main joints back and forth negatively. The taller alien shouted, and the Trebuslote translated quickly. Question, interrogative, regarding the reproductive function of your reticulum. Gah, said Zebus 45 with enhanced reticulum. He stepped back, causing a shooting pain in his pod. He instinctively released a spray of calming pheromones in a pink, diaphanous cloud. The alien shouted and raised their tubes. The Trebuslote said in his brain, Question, interrogative, regarding the reproductive function of your pheromone. Zebus 45, with enhanced reticulum, nodded up and down negatively. He fizzed out an answer of hisses and clicks through his orifice.
No, you should only reproduce among yourselves.
The speaker under his head whined out a strange jumble, translating his words into the alien language. The ocular and vocal orifices of the two aliens widened. Unfortunately, before the Zebuloid could add anything about peace, the two aliens raised their weapons, and apart from a loud noise and a flash, that was all Zebus 45, with enhanced reticulum, ever heard or saw before his brain exploded, and the great Zebuloid mission ended tragically and inefficiently. Translate This was originally published in the science fiction magazine Polar Borealis, issue number 6, 2018. Other recent published fiction includes The Last of the Shamrocks, in Aethlon the Sports Literature magazine, issue 36-1, 2020, and One Day in Tom's Life with Ice Cream, in Neo-opsis Science Fiction magazine, issue 30, 2019. Upcoming fiction will be found in Neo-opsis Science Fiction, The Day the Earth Didn't Stand Still, issue 32, expected summer 2021, and a story in the JayHenge science fiction anthology on joining forces, expected in the fall of 2021. Craig H. Bowlsby's other works include the hockey history books, Empire of Ice, The Rise and Fall of the Pacific Coast Hockey Association, 1911 to 1926, and 1913, the year they invented the future of hockey, for which Craig won the 2014 Brian McFarlane Award from the Society for International Hockey Research. Craig is currently working on a detective thriller novel that takes place in 1917 in Shanghai. Stay tuned. Hey guys, I hope you liked that story. Kind of makes you wonder how many altercations in history are just due to bad translation. If you did like it, be sure to leave a thumbs up and a comment if you're on YouTube. Or if you're listening to the podcast, I can always use more reviews over on Apple Podcasts. I'm Chris Aaron, and that's it for today's Tall Tale TV.